Support for Disrupted comes from the Connecticut Office of Film, Television, and Digital Media.
For decades, Jacques Pépin has spread his love for cooking across the world. He's cooked on numerous public television shows and appeared alongside Julia Child in Julia and Jacques Cooking at Home.
There is nothing as good as a great hamburger.
Yes, we're doing everything from hamburgers to Chateaubriand today.
We are cooking beef.
So good.
More recently, he helped home cooks weather the pandemic with short online videos.
Hi, I'm Jacques Pépin, and I'm cooking at home.
From Connecticut Public Radio, this is Disrupted. I'm Kalila Brown-Dean. This hour, my conversation with Jacques Pépin. He's author, TV host, instructor, and chef. He's also executive chairman of the Jacques Pépin Foundation. It supports culinary training for adults who face barriers to employment. The organization recently awarded a $10,000 grant to Sanctuary Kitchen in New Haven. Our conversation was recorded in front of a live audience as part of the International Festival of Arts and Ideas in New Haven. I opened our conversation by asking Chef Pépin about watching his mother cook when he was growing up.
Well, I was in apprenticeship in 1949, so that's a little while ago. So I was raised in France during the Second World War. And my mother was a great cook too, and she could cook with, well, all people in my family, actually, I'm from Lyon in France, and Lyon is known for the mother chef, great woman chef. And in my family, I count 12 restaurants in Lyon and different parts of France, and the 12 of them were run by women. I was the first male into that business, so yes. And of course, I was raised in that type of family where we come back after school and start either peeling potato or washing bottle, or, we always worked. But the world was, of course, quite different than now. But at that time, remember, we didn't have any television, of course. We had no radio, we had no telephone. So life was kind of simpler in a sense. So my father was a cabinet maker, my mother was a cook, so my choice in life was easy, either a cook or a cabinet maker. So I liked the kitchen better, so I moved into the kitchen, as I say, in 1949, and then eventually I worked in Paris between 56, 58 for 3 presidents. And someone introduced me not long ago and said, that man was chef to 3 French presidents, and the 3 of them are dead. Yes, it's true. Okay.
You've outlasted them all and done quite well.
All right.
You mentioned working for these 3 French heads of state.
Yeah.
You turned down an offer from John F. Kennedy to be the chef at the White House.
Yes.
And some people questioned that at the time. Talk to us about that choice to say no.
Yeah, again, the cook at the time was really at the bottom of the social scale. Any good mother would have wanted a child to marry, I don't know, a lawyer, a doctor, certainly not a cook. I don't know what happened in the last few years. We are genius now, so it's good. But in any case, yes, after 2 years, I served people like Eisenhower, Nehru, Tito, Macmillan. Those were the head of state that I served when I was in France. Not once ever would they ever call you to the dining room for kudo. That did not exist. The cook was in the kitchen behind the stove, that's it. I never had an interview in France with a magazine, newspaper, too. So yes, the world of the cook was quite different. So when I was asked in 1960 to go to the White House, I had been in New York not that long, about a year. So I did not realize in a sense, as I say, because still at that time the cook was very low on the social scale. And I work in New York at Le Pavillon, which was a great restaurant, and Pierre Frenet, who was the executive chef, was asked to go by Mr. Johnson. Howard D. Johnson was a client of the Pavillon. He asked Pierre to come and work with them, and Pierre asked me to go with them. So it was another world for me, quite different. I worked there from 1960 to 1970, and when I left Howard Johnson, I opened a restaurant on Fifth Avenue called La Potagerie, production of soup. Then I set up the World Trade Center, where we serve 40,000 people a day with commissary. I was a consultant at the Russian Tea Room. I'm saying that only to say that as a French chef, I would never have been able to do any of those jobs without the training of Howard Johnson. So I did learn a great deal. It was another world of cooking, So, yeah, and Mr. Johnson came to my wedding. He came to the christening of Claudine, here, my daughter. Yes, he was a great guy. Yeah.
One of the things that I appreciate about your journey is that you created options for yourself, but you also created options for other people. And I noticed that we have some young people in the audience today. I want to share something that you wrote about yourself. You once broke 200 eggs a day. Think about the price of eggs today and how we would replicate that. You did that to perfect your omelet technique. And you said that that discipline wasn't about repetition for the sake of repetition. It was about developing muscle memory so that cooking could be joyful. Talk to us about technique as a foundation, because you said technique liberates the cook. Talk to us about how that happens.
Yes, to a certain extent. I mean, as I said, again, the cook was really at the bottom of the social scale. When I worked at the Plaza Athénée in Paris in the 50s, we were 48 chefs in the kitchen. For example, one of the famous dish, still I think now, was the lobster soufflé. Well, the 48 chefs could have done the lobster soufflé, you would never have known which had done it. The idea was to conform at the time. You work somewhere, you learn, you conform here. It was not to explain yourself or invent something. It was quite different than now. So I did a book called La Technique, and in 1975, I believe. And yes, the repetition that you do become very important for a professional chef. Not necessarily for a home cook, but as a professional chef, when it's 11 o'clock in the morning and at 12 o'clock you have 100 people sitting down for lunch, you have to move. It's not a question of doing it, it's a question of doing it in a certain amount of time with speed and doing it the right way. So the technique helped, the repetition, you become more proficient at it. But I know a fair amount of professional chefs who are very good technicians, who work very fast too, and are relatively lousy cook. The food is okay, but not that great. So if you have a great chef like Thomas Keller, for example, or Daniel Boulou, certainly you have a technician, but you have someone who has talent and someone who has more than that and give love in the cooking. So, I mean, you cannot really cook differently. When you cook, you have to give some of yourself.
So are you saying if I break 200 eggs tomorrow, I still may not be good at making an omelet?
I'm sure
Should I keep trying? Thank you. Sure, yes. You're so kind. I don't know that my family would agree, but we'll try. There are two themes that come up often in your work, talking about the art of cooking and connection. And you talk a lot about love and generosity as being the compass for that work. Has that always been your philosophy and your approach, or have you seen it develop over time?
You have to. You cannot cook indifferently. You have to give some of yourself. And certainly one of the greatest ways of meeting people is to cook with them and certainly share the food around the table. There is nothing, especially in our time of polarization now, if you have people coming to my house, I don't ask them if they are a Republican or Democrat. I open a bottle of wine, And we started having a glass of wine and talking about food and sitting down and eating together. That breaks the wall, you know. I remember many, many years ago with my wife in Europe, driving in Europe, and we were somewhere in a small country, after Italy, we passed Italy, and we were going to Greece. And we go through small village, and you have people looking behind behind the curtain. Those are foreigner people and so forth, and it's true. But then you stop there, and if you have a little restaurant and you order the bottle of wine that people have there, the food, and all of a sudden you look less dangerous. You know, people come and sit close to you. Then you buy people a bottle of wine. Then they start talking to you in a language that you don't understand, but you get together. Yes.
I think I'm hearing you say we need more wine. More wine.
Yes.
That would bring more peace.
Yes.
Someone take note of that so we can do that.
Yes.
You have spread this philosophy of love, of generosity, of respect for people, respect for culture. But I imagine it wasn't easy bringing an appreciation for French cuisine to the United States at the time that you did, or perhaps it was easy. What was it like as you were introducing this more broadly in the US?
Well, actually, you know, most people come to the US for political reason, or racial reason, or religious reason, or economic reason, make more money. I didn't really have any of this. I had a great job in Paris. My parents had a restaurant, and but I wanted to come to America. I was intrigued by a country where you eat food in the middle of the day, in the center of the street. So it was another world. So I said, I'll go there for a year, see what's going on. And so that's over 60 years ago. So yes, I came here just to see for a year, and people were actually very, very welcoming. Much more welcoming than people in Europe at the time, you know. People would say, oh my God, you know, you are work, what are you going to do in this country? But we cooked together, and as I said, people were very welcoming, saying, oh, you come from a great country with a lot of culture and so forth. Yes, and I talked to people in France. They say, "What are you doing there? They don't even bake bread. I mean, they don't even have cheese." You know, so it was a different thing. But yes, people were very welcoming, and that's why I stay. You know, and then I get married, and I met my wife, and I was married 54 years. You know, so that's
it's a gift. Coming up, more of my conversation with Chef Jacques Pépin. He'll talk about working with Julia Child and why it took so long for their show to come out, even after it was recorded. This is Disrupted. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Disrupted. I'm Kalila Brown-Dean. This hour, we're hearing my conversation with Jacques Pépin. He's chef, author, TV host, and executive chairman of the Jacques Pépin Foundation. We spoke as part of New Haven's International Festival of Arts and Ideas. For me, the world of cooking can sometimes be intimidating. One of the things that I appreciate about Chef Pépin is that he talks about the art of simplicity. So I asked him, why is simplicity so important?
Everything is important. I mean, I did over 30 books, and certainly the type of food that I cook, when I was with the president or in the great restaurant in Paris, is not what you cook every day. There is nothing wrong with it. This is a style of cooking, which is more complex and more, but quite gratifying as well. But you don't cook like that all the time. At the beginning of the pandemic, a few years ago, my daughter Claudine here said, "Why don't you cook something for Facebook?" She does Facebook. I don't do it, but she does it. So anyway, recipe like 4 or 5 minutes, what you have in your refrigerator to tell people. We did 400 of those. We did like 10 a day with a friend of mine who was shooting. And those are very, very simple, very straightforward recipe. And it has a place in cooking just as well as something more complicated. So it changed, So, yeah, I like to do a little bit of everything. I have the biggest book that I did with a book called The Art of Cooking. We did 34,000 pictures, and it takes 5 years. And I did 2 volumes, and we kept 3,000 pictures. We did 2 volumes, a 1,500 book. That's probably what I considered maybe the best book that I've done. It's also the one who sold the least of any book that I've done. So everything is relative, but one doesn't, when you have a special occasion too, and you want to spend time in the kitchen and make it more beautiful, more complicated, more complex, and it's nice, it's a good gift to give to people if you do that, Some of the time, you come back from work, you open the refrigerator, you have 2 eggs left over, you do something in 5 minutes. Yes.
It's hard for me to accept that it's been 5 years since the start of that pandemic. Many of us had to be socially distant to stay safe, and many of us felt isolation in that. You were able to come into people's homes again through Facebook, through social media, through these short videos. And it wasn't just about sharing recipes and techniques. You also were helping people feel connected again. And it's been that part of public education that we've seen in so much of your work. What was it like for you to say, okay, I'll create this short video. It may not be the way that I'm used to doing it, but I'm willing to try something new. What was that like for you?
Yes, I mean, it always has been. As I said, there is different space and different place for different type of cooking, depending whether it's full summer, I mean, I'm going to cook differently if I have a hangover. And so I go in the garden to get a tomato, have a tomato ripe from the garden, a dash of salt, a dash of olive oil on top, and this is it, I don't need more embellishment, that type of things. But at the beginning of the pandemic, when we started doing those shows, Claudine, I think we had like 200,000 people on Facebook, right? And we have close to 2 million now. So I think that the pandemic also brought a lot of people into the kitchen to cook together or be together and so forth. Yeah.
I have a teenager. You are the original influencer, not these new ones. You've been doing this for quite some time as an influencer. So we'll add that to your badge of achievements as well. Sound good?
Yeah.
I remember growing up watching you on PBS with Julia Child and watching the two of you in the kitchen, the chemistry that you two had, that you were having fun, you were creating something different. And it meant that for me and my family, that Saturday morning, we would watch this together and feel like we were watching two old friends having a good time in the kitchen, which is in many ways what that can mean. What made that collaboration so magical for you? So yes, you're educating, but you're also building.
I came here in 1959. 6 months after I was here, I knew the trinity of cooking in America, which was Craig Claiborne, who just started at the New York Times as a food critic, James Beard, and Julia Child. The food world was very, very small at the time. It was another world altogether. So I had a friend of mine in New York, Helen McCauley, was the food editor of House Beautiful, and she kind of became my surrogate mother. Don't wear this, don't do that, do this, do that. she pushed me to go back to school also and so forth. And one day she told me, I have a woman, I want to show you a manuscript of a book I just got to review. And that was Mastering the Art of French Cooking, Julia. And I said, this is good. It's a great book. So she said, well, the woman is living in Boston, but she's coming in 2 weeks, and you want to cook for her? I said, sure. She said, it's a very tall woman with a terrible voice. And I said, fine. All right. So I came, and actually we spoke French with Julia because she came back from France. She was there like 2 or 3 years, and French was better than my English, So we became friends, and we stayed friends for half a century, basically. So at some point we did show together. I taught at Boston University. I'm still occasionally going there. I've been teaching at BU for 42 years, something like that. So I told Julia, why don't you come and do some teaching with me there? And in the middle of the 90s, we start teaching together there also. And John Silbert was the president at the time, and Julia said, we should do something with gastronomy. There is nothing with gastronomy, and it's so important. So we asked, and he said, go ahead. So we created a Master of Liberal Art with a concentration in gastronomy in the middle of the 80s at BU, and it's still going on now. So it was kind of new at the time, and even now, it's still one of the only places who teach that type of thing. So with Julia and her husband, we became quite friends and spent time together and so forth. And at some point, when they decided to do a series together, we did a series of 26 shows. So Julia said, why don't you write 100 dishes that you like to do? I'll do the same thing. So she wrote down 100. I did the same thing, and I think 3 of my dishes made it. I think, yeah, 3 or 4. Anyway, we cooked. But I have done 13 series of 26 shows for PBS through all the years. And usually, conventionally, when you do that type of thing, you come with a manuscript of a book so that the back kitchen knows what you're going to do. You may not follow exactly the recipe, but there's an idea. Well, we decided there we had no recipe. So the kitchen staff was a bit lost following us because we had no recipe. But that's the way Julia wanted to do it. And for me, cooking this way is the easiest way of cooking because why do I have scallion in that dish? Because they happen to be on the table. I slice it, throw it in. So it's much easier than with all the recipe written down and so forth. So we did that show. So we had a lot of fun in a sense because we discuss, we adjust the food, we argue all the time. And in fact, when the series was finished, cooking, it took over 2 years to go on the air because we did a book with a random house and they had no recipe, so they keep calling to say, what did you do in that show? I don't remember what I did in that show. So it took like 2 years to write that book, so they couldn't bring the show on television before having the book finished. So it was a different way of doing recipe and book. What was your question?
You answered the question. Well, fantastic. And I appreciate you for letting us know, what we see on television, what we read when we get this beautiful book from you. Sometimes we don't know all that went into it. And we don't realize the trial and error of it, the exchange of it. And everything isn't linear, that there are fits and starts. And to arrive at this beautiful place took some work to get there.
Yes, but usually we cook at home. I cook at home. I write it down. Sometimes my wife cooked. My wife was born in New York City, but her father was Cuban and her mother Puerto Rican. So she passed on 5 years ago. But So she cooked too, and she was a good cook too. And it's not like when I came into the kitchen, she told me, "What do you think?" She usually tell me, "Don't touch anything." Yeah. So, so we cooked together, and she said, "That's good." So we write a recipe, and through the year, it was basically what we came at home. And usually when you do a book, you have an idea. And also, as I said, we did 13 series. So each series was a book. I also wrote for the New York Times for 10 years I had a column called The Purposeful Cook, which was to cook economically in the kitchen. So I did a book with that. So usually the recipe that I did are the theme. It was either cooking economically for like that book, or otherwise I did 2 books, Cooking My Way, I think, I forget the name, but using the supermarket as a prep cook, because you're in the kitchen. If you're a prep cook in the kitchen, you come in the morning, you bone out the chicken, you fillet the fish, you chop the shallot, you slice the mushroom, wash the spinach, do all of this. Nothing is cooked. I get to the stove, I have an order for a piece of fish, the fish is there, I do it, a bit of white wine, some shallots on top, bring it to a boil. The recipe is done in 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes because I have all the prep cook. So I decided to do 2 series using the supermarket as a prep cook. So I bought boneless, skinless breast of chicken, pre-washed mushroom, and so forth. And within 30 minutes, I would do 4 dishes, usually, even with the package still on the table, So again, that was a theme. Then I did other theme where I did much more sophisticated cooking, with Gloria, we did a series once. It was different. And I like to work with a theme like that and try to set up your knowledge toward that particular thing,
Coming up, more with best-selling author, Chef Jacques Pépin. He'll talk about communicating with his granddaughter through food. This is Disrupted. Stay with us. Welcome back to Disrupted. I'm Kalila Brown-Dean. This hour, we're talking with Jacques Pépin about his storied career as a chef, author, and television host. We spoke as part of New Haven's International Festival of Arts and Ideas. In the audience that day were Chef Pépin's daughter, Claudine Pépin, and his son-in-law, Raleigh Weeson. They are co-founders of the Jacques Pépin Foundation. I asked Chef Pépin what his legacy of family and connection means to him.
Well, it's everything, I mean, I had my Claudine went to BU because I had my granddaughter. My daughter went to BU. In fact, she's finishing this year. And we've always, worked together, cooked together. Now they cook for me more than I cook for them. But, Rolly here is a chef, a professional chef. Like me, he worked for many, many years in the kitchen. And at some point, like 15 years ago or so, he moved to Rhode Island to teach at Johnson & Wales. And he had gone to college, before, but we talked and I said, if you are going to be in academia, try to go back to school. You won't pay for it. And so he ended up doing a master and doing a PhD, and now he's a full professor there at Johnson & Wales. And I've been very, very blessed and very lucky. I mean, like as I mentioned, Claudine did during the pandemic, the Facebook and so forth. But about 12 years ago or so, Rolly told me, you've been teaching people all your life. What do you think you'd like to teach now? So we thought about it, and I said, well, maybe the people who have been a bit disenfranchised with life, like people who come out of jail, homeless people, former drug addicts, people like this. So that's what we've done. He created the Jacques Pépin Foundation. Again, I would never have done it myself if it hadn't been for him, or Facebook for Claudine. And so we are, I think last year we gave $2 million or whatever to different community kitchen, and that we teach people that type of thing. And we have one behind us, right there, the community kitchen. What's the name again?
Sanctuary Kitchen.
Yes, right. And they are cooking. So it's very, thank you. It is very rewarding, to do that type of thing. Because I feel personally in the kitchen, if someone likes the kitchen, in 6 weeks, I can probably teach you in 6 weeks how to peel potato and peel asparagus, wash salad, do the basic, of the kitchen. If you like it, you're going to stay here. 5 years later, maybe you're the chef here. You're the chef at that small restaurant, and you have kind of redone your life, make money, and that make you feel good and so forth. So it's been quite rewarding. We've done that a little bit all over the country. Yeah.
Thank you. The work of your foundation, the Jacques Pépin Foundation, is at that intersection of food, of creativity, of community and philanthropy. And as you mentioned, it is wonderful for us to have an example right here in Connecticut, right here in New Haven, with Sanctuary Kitchen, of how the people who work with that organization are creating a better life, not just for themselves, but for their families, their communities, and pushing back against some of the negativity we see in other spaces. And for your foundation to say, we are going to pour into that to happen, is a reminder of the power that we have right where we are to make a difference.
And the beauty of cooking, there is no political implication in cooking. We have a logo here on our shirt who said, "Everyone looks the same in the eye of the stove." That is true. So you work in the kitchen, whoever is next to you, you learn, and as I said, no political implication. No, everyone is equal, in the kitchen, and it's a good place to be. I mean, I've been there for many, many years, and still there occasionally.
Let's talk about those many, many years. We like celebration. So this is the 30th anniversary of the festival. We should clap for that and celebrate that. But 2025 will also mark the 90th birthday of a gentleman named Chef Jacques Pépin. We should clap for that. And I want to talk about the ways that you are going to celebrate and honor that milestone. One of the things that we know is that your birthday is December 18th. Right. There will be a big celebration at Madison Beach Hotel. Right. Yes, celebrating you, but also thinking about this 90 for 90 celebration to continue to do that work of making a difference in community. Talk to us a little bit about this celebration.
Yeah, again, this is Rolly, not me. We decided, find the idea of 90 for 90. So there are 90 chefs all over the country. We've done close to half of it already. We're doing a big dinner in my honor and giving the proceeds to the foundation. So it's been, as I said, very rewarding to see all of those chefs all over the country. And now we're doing it at home also, home cook, or doing a dinner for the foundation. That's not part of the 1990. That's another 90 for 90 again.
Right.
So, yes, it brings people together, and it makes you celebrate life and celebrate food and celebrate friends. So it's been, as I said, quite rewarding for me. I mean, certainly.
So if people want to learn more about that celebration, about the 90 for 90 campaign, they can go to celebratejacques.org to purchase tickets, to learn more, not just about the celebrations, but the work that celebration will empower, and to learn about the ways that people across this country and really across the world are coming together to build community through culinary education and impact. I want to share, I know that I'm getting signs from the wings, so I know we are coming close to our time. I want to share this quote from you. And you said, retirement is not a word I understand. I cook, I paint, I write. It's all part of the same life.
And I drink. Wine.
I feel like the next book will be Life Lessons from Chef Jacques Pépin, because I'm taking notes here.
Oh, okay.
If I make it to 90 and I am as active and curious as you are, I will say that is a life well lived. As you think about that and all that you are continuing to do, what is it that you want people to say about Chef Jacques Pépin?
Yeah, life is, you can look at life in a positive way, in a negative way too, but in the kitchen, usually, we look at it in a positive way. I mean, you cannot cook, as I say, indifferently. You have to give some of yourself in the cooking. And it's a great gift, to bring people in your kitchen, cook for them, share wine. And when Claudine was small, she worked with me in the kitchen. My granddaughter now, who is 21 years old and finishing college, when she was like 4 or 5 years old too, she had a little stool next to me into the kitchen. And I said, give me the salad. You think it's clean? Okay, so I said, I need parsley. Let's go to the garden. So go to the garden. I said, no, taste that. That's chive. No, that's parsley. That's tarragon. Taste it. So we go back to the kitchen, cook together a little bit. And that sharing of experience now, it set up a background for me to speak. And not only in the kitchen, but then, of course, sitting down after and eating the food and talking about it too. I mean, it's basically my whole life, a way of communicating, food becomes so yes, it's.
So my last question to you, what advice do you give to those of us who want to preserve memory, who want to share that spirit of love and connection, but occasionally overcook the chicken and burn the toast? I'm asking for someone else, not for me. What advice do you give us?
Well, basically, I don't really think that I have ever been to any friend of mine that I have said that the food was lousy. I am a glutton anyway, so I will eat it and tell them this is great, that's the greatest chicken I ever had. Yes, I mean you have to be nice to people who cook for you, I guess. So
and have lots of wine.
And
right?
wine, yes. So
good wine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember when I was at Howard Johnson, I worked with a chemist there. He was Greek, and so we became friends. He invited me to his house for Easter. Big Easter feast for the Greek, and of course he had lamb. So the best part of the lamb is the head. Best part of the head is the eye. So they gave me the head and the eye. I had those two eyes. Good thing he had something called ouzo. I take one eye with a big glass of ouzo. So I said, that's really good. I mean, you kidding?
More wine, more ouzo. Again, life lessons from the chef. As we celebrate your 90th birthday, as we think about the ability to come together over food and community, I want to express my gratitude, and I know I speak for those who are here today, for your life that has been devoted to excellence, to generosity, to creativity, and humility for humanity.
I'm not that good.
No, you're underselling yourself, my friend. So, on behalf of everyone here and on behalf of the festival, thank you. Merci. Disrupted is produced by Kevin Chang Barnum, Robin Doyon-Aiken, Erica McIntosh, and Meg Fitzgerald. Our interns are V. Zhuang and Tale Ricketson. You can listen to more than 250 episodes of Disrupted in our archive. You can find us wherever you get your podcast. And you can listen for new episodes every Friday at 9 a.m. From Connecticut Public Radio, this is Disrupted. I'm Kalila Brown Dean. Thanks for listening.